Welcome everyone to the first episode of Watchdog Press, where we seek out and expose misinformation. Today we will address the comments of Justin Trudeau regarding the Freedom Convoy.
The small fringe minority of people who are on their way to Ottawa or who are holding unacceptable views that they're expressing do not represent the views of Canadians. But Nazi symbolism, racist imagery, and desecration of war memorials, hate can never be the answer. Over the past few days, Canadians were shocked and frankly disgusted by the behavior displayed by some people protesting in our nation's capital.
Now, we weren't in Ottawa on January 29th when the few racist symbols were seen, but we were in Regina, Saskatchewan, and that's not what we saw. What we saw was like Canada Day on steroids. People laughing, singing, telling jokes to strangers, hugging strangers. It was the happiest I've seen people in the last 2 years. So we decided to go back the following week and get people's perspective on how they were misrepresented in the media.
Do you feel like this movement, these protests, these convoys, the movement in general has been properly represented in the mainstream media?
Absolutely not. Today we were actually sitting at home and we've been following so much of the convoy and the unity that's happening across Canada. And, I've got lots to say. I can keep going for hours, but it was actually the leader of the NDP, Ryan there. He actually had a post that came out, or he had given an interview where he basically said, stay the heck home, don't come here, you are, interrupting democracy. And Aaron and I basically felt like, you know what? No, this is democracy.
Absolutely.
My ability to come here, to smile, to say good morning to the police officers that are here. That is my democratic right as a Canadian. This is what our ancestors have fought for. This is what our veterans have fought for. This is what the truckers are fighting for. Mm-hmm. And this goes beyond COVID mandates, right? Yeah. I think this is a huge movement of unity across Canada, including the Indigenous people. Mm-hmm. They have a message and they don't feel like they've been heard, and now we understand.
Absolutely.
Right?
So do you believe that this convoy and this movement in general has been properly represented in the mainstream media?
Oh gosh, no. I've got a bunch of friends that are in Ottawa that have sent me live footage from their cameras, and one in particular was with that clown that was running around with, and I do call him a clown, with the Confederate flag, which I think if you're running around there being a racist a-hole, you have no place in this society. Mm-hmm. But he was running around, and then several friends of mine had got him on footage away from the main protest with Trudeau's CBC photographer right behind him. When in this country the press used to be the ones that rooted out government corruption, brought to the surface in the light the problems that were going on, and they were the watchdog for the people.
Yep. When
did that change? The absolute corruption in the mainstream media and the bias is they're painting it that it's some, if I personally just went off of what I saw in the mainstream media, I'd drive to Ottawa and chase the buggers out myself.
Yeah, absolutely.
But that's not what it's about. They keep labeling them anti-vaxxers, anti-this. I don't know anybody in that convoy that is that doesn't agree with vaccines.
Yeah.
The polio vaccines, experimental medical procedures. I know lots of people that are against that. And then that where it comes to consent, full informed consent. When was that ever laid out to people?
Yeah. Have you seen any of the racist symbols or hate or violence that is being, used to paint this movement with?
Me personally, I have not, and if I'll be the first one to go up in the front of the line and tell that guy to out.
Absolutely.
Racism has no place in this society. Bigotry, racism, everyone's equal. I don't care what race you are, what religion you are equal to everyone. And if somebody starts to come around and spread try to taint or soil with racism and all this, I'll be the first one to chase them out. I'll beat the cops here, and I promise you that.
Outstanding. Do you feel like these protests, the convoys, this whole movement in general has been represented properly in the mainstream media?
Hell no. They'll spin it completely backwards. I've seen things online and where the media says that they're spewing hate, they're stealing food, and they're bullying people. That's completely backwards from what I've seen, and as the First Nations, they've tried to spin that one too. It's like, no, First Nations, Indigenous people support this. They're out banging the drum. They're out there holding signs. They got the teepees out there speaking too. And for the truckers, it's a convoy of freedom because the government has had their opportunity, to speak for the people. They're not listening to the people, period. Right now, they blocked off the legislature. The people own this property, and it's going to be the truckers, the convoy, the people, the freedom, and the children out here that are going to we're going to get our freedom back that way because the media is simply, they're owned by the government.
Yeah. Have you seen anything that the media is trying, like the hate speech, the racist symbols, like violence? Have you seen any of that here?
I have not seen any of that here. I've seen people hugging each other, congratulating each other, showing their support. And that's all it's been.
Unity.
And unity. And if there's been any issues, like if there's garbage on the ground, guess who's picking it up? The people here.
Yep.
It was like government to say impose the mask, and then what? They're just throwing on the streets? Like, that's not happening here. The people are actually, respectful, responsible, professional, and there's children here. So you don't invite children if it's not safe.
And do you feel like this movement, these convoys, these protests have been represented properly in the mainstream media?
Not in the mainstream media, no. I think they're filling a bunch of lies. I think they're telling people there's violence when there's not. I think if you look around here, you can clearly see this is a very peaceful protest. We're just trying to be loud and proud and make things happen.
Yeah, and that's my next question. Have you seen any of these things that the mainstream media has tried to paint with a broad brush, everything about this movement, like the racism or any of the hate speech?
Well, I can tell you one thing here is that what I've seen, if you want to call it violent, you can call it violent, but I've seen some kids sledding down a hill up the road there. I've seen some, other foreign country people hugging and shaking hands and smiles and, meeting each other and forming an alliance of Canadians and worldwide people. This is what it's about. It's about world freedom, right?
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
I haven't seen any of that. If they want to call that, violent, they can go ahead. But we need to get it out there that this is not a violent protest. This is all about peace.
Absolutely.
Peace and love.
It seems to me people are losing faith in the mainstream media. Here's what they had to say.
Do you feel like the mainstream media has lost its credibility at this stage?
100%, yes. If they would just come out and talk to people instead of demonizing groups and trying to separate everybody, there would be a lot more respect there. But since they tried to demonize and separate everyone into two groups, I have no respect.
Do you feel the mainstream media has any credibility anymore, or is it gone now?
None whatsoever. None whatsoever.
Do you feel like the mainstream media will be able to recover from this, like have any credibility left?
I can't say for sure, but I can honestly say that I don't think they will. I think they're kind of digging their own grave. I think they need to stand for the people. They need to stand for the people, and we are the people. We are the Canadians.
Absolutely.
The government wants to stand and think they're the people, but we, the Canadian, are the people. The government listens to us. They work for us as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
But it seems to be going the other way around, and it's time us Canadians and the rest of the world stand up and stand up for what's right.
Awesome.
There it is. Honest opinions from real people. I'd like to take a moment to remind everyone that we've never received $600 million worth of government funding, but we do have a desire to know the truth. That's all the time we have for this video, but before we go, I'd like to share something that we've learned in the process. It's impossible to fit 45 minutes worth of interviews into a 12-minute video. So for the purpose of full disclosure, and so that the people can have a voice, we will also be posting all of our unedited interviews. Thank you. Stay aware.